Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the County Seat. I'm your host, Chad Booth. We are privileged today to have a one-on-one conversation with Nora Rasure. She is the Intermountain Regional Forester who has been on the job here since 2013, right?
Yes, Chad, I've been here 2 years.
Yeah. So, kind of belated, but welcome to Utah. How's the experience been so far?
Well, thanks for the welcome. It's been a great experience. I am enjoying being the regional forester for the Intermountain region. It's an incredible area, and it's a place that's really special to me in terms of the landscapes and the people that live in this area.
Tell us a little bit about your career path and how that's led you to be prepared for this.
I've been with the Forest Service since 1980, and so I grew up in Illinois and was raised in the cornfields and soybean fields of Illinois. Went to the University of Illinois and got a degree in forest management. And my first job was with the Forest Service as a Youth Conservation Corps leader at Las Vegas, Nevada. And so I worked up on Mount Charleston right outside of Las Vegas, and every day I would take my 10 kids and we would go up in the mountains and do trail projects, fuel reduction work, and just take care of the recreation areas there. And that really cemented my love of the Forest Service. After that, I spent my next 10 years on the Toyabe National Forest, both in Las Vegas and in Carson City, Nevada. And I worked in recreation. I worked with our minerals program, special use permits. I even did a couple years as an assistant fire management officer and worked in fire for a couple of years. So that experience at the district level really made me think about what I want to do with my career. And I became a district ranger, moved to Montana, and was a district ranger on the Bitterroot National Forest for almost 7 years. And that's a pretty close area to the Intermountain region. I got to work with the Frank Church River of No Return Wilderness, the Selway Bitterroot Wilderness. And so I really loved the district ranger job, the idea of being a line officer and working with employees on a district and working with communities. After a while, I started thinking about what did I want to do next, and decided to go south and warm up. So spent a few years in southern Arizona as a deputy forest supervisor and started getting the experience at the forest level. Moved up to be a forest supervisor in the state of Washington, eastern Washington, on the Colville National Forest, and then headed back down to Arizona on the Coconino National Forest. So I had quite a few years on the forest as a forest supervisor, and really, again, enjoyed working at that scale, working with a larger area, more diverse communities, and employees across the whole forest.
As you've gone through forest management and everything, you've had an opportunity in some of your positions to deal with a lot of wilderness. There's some people that think that wilderness ends up being a very easy management prescription. You know, you basically just say, okay, we're not going to do anything with it, and you're done.
Well, wilderness certainly has its unique management challenges, and I have really loved my opportunities to work with the different wildernesses in the National Forest. Last year we celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Wilderness Act, and so in wilderness, I think it challenges us to think about how do we maintain these areas where man's imprint is not noticed. So how do we go about managing these areas? How do we make decisions about fires? Should fires, which are a natural part of our ecosystems here, how can they play a role in those wildernesses? But how do we balance that out with protecting human life? How do we balance that out with protecting areas outside of wilderness? What about wildlife management in wilderness? So there are just these, all the issues that you think about outside of the wilderness area, they're still at play in a wilderness, but it really challenges us to think about how can we do this in a way that still maintains that incredible wilderness character, that honors why that wilderness was set aside to begin with.
Excellent. Well, this is a good place for us to take a break. We've gotten to know you a little bit. When we come back, we are going to delve into some of the challenges that face the forest, at least look at them from the Forest Service perspective as opposed to county perspective, and we'll do that right after this commercial break.
Color, it's something that can be seen. But have you ever wanted to reach out and touch it? Experience it. In San Juan County, Utah, color comes to life like nowhere else on earth. Color can be more than an abstract. Color can be your gateway to a new world. Visit San Juan County and explore the past, present, and future in a way that you've only dreamed of. San Juan County. Color your experience.
Why is it that environmental protection and economic development are often placed at odds with each other? In Duchesne County, they have both. Here, modern industry and resource development go hand in hand with some of the most pristine wilderness in the western United States. A strong economy balanced with a lifestyle of exploration and discovery. But don't take my word for it. Go visit them. Duchesne County. Close enough for business. Far enough to get away.
Kanab. Base camp for your southern Utah adventures. You belong in Kanab.
You go through the day-to-day repeating what you did yesterday. Don't you wish you could access that piece of your life that's missing? Find the beauty, serenity, family fun, or anything else that's missing from your life in the Cedar City Bryan Head area. Gain access to your adventure, whether it's camping, hiking, the arts, festivals, or just a getaway. Visit cedarcityayl.com for details on all the adventures that you can access in scenic southern Utah.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are talking to Nora Rasure, who's the regional forester for the Intermountain region of the U.S. Forest Service. Nora, we want to kind of talk about the issues. Probably the most public, the perception of the biggest problem the Forest Service has, the time you guys get the most press, is when we've got a catastrophic wildfire going on. And predictions are this is not going to be a good year for fires. I'd like to address that for a minute. What are you guys doing to prepare, and how are you collaborating with the state and other local resources?
So this time of year, Chad, we are getting ready for fire season. Our fire crews are going through training. We are doing interagency meetings to talk about priorities and resources that are available and how we're going to work together to address fires this summer. Our forest supervisors and district rangers, they're out meeting with county commissioners, local fire departments, and talking about how they're going to work together. I think that's one of the key attributes of fire management, is that we take a very interagency approach and we work together, because no one agency has all the resources that are needed to manage fires.
A couple of years ago, there was a fire down on Cedar Mountain, and this is before your time, but the fire broke out, and they were at just a few dozen acres, and the county had bulldozers and were in a position to cut a fire break. And the forest supervisor at that point said no. And it got past that opportunity to control it and became a fairly extensive fire. Is there a shift now in more of that collaborative effort of looking at getting those fires under control?
I think those are situations where it just shows that we need to keep working together. Because when we have firefighters out there and there's other people working in the area, we want to be able to communicate with each other, because we want to protect the safety of anybody that's on the fire. And so having those good working relationships and agreements ahead of time, and having the communication when we actually get there so that we can have a very safe and efficient response, is really important to us. Across the nation, we have been working together. We're looking at more strategically how we can work together through a cohesive strategy. And that strategy includes one element of having safe and effective response. I think here in the state of Utah, we work with our partners at Utah Forestry, Fire, and State Lands, and we work with our local communities to really have that interagency response and to work together to be safe about that.
So an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Is part of that collaborative effort trying to do some maintenance on the forest that will prevent the catastrophic wildfires and make the forest a little healthier? I mean, if you leave them in a wilderness state, they're going to go through a cycle. But if you're not in a wilderness area, it seems like there are some areas that there could be some prescriptive treatments that would prevent fires from being as big as they are. How much attention is the Forest Service paying to that?
So the cohesive strategy that I just talked about has three elements. One is resilient landscapes, and the other is protecting communities, and then the third is that safe and efficient fire response. So what you're talking about is how do we protect our communities? How do we do fuels treatments around communities so that when there are fires coming from outside the community into the community, we can get our firefighters into a safe place to suppress that fire. And so we have many examples around the state where we've started working with our communities and working on the national forest, private land, state land, other lands to protect communities. And so that interagency cooperation, the collaboration that we're doing, it's not only about the fire response, it's also about how we protect communities.
Grazing is a big issue right now, and there are several southern counties that felt concerned enough they took their concerns directly to Washington regarding grazing. They were feeling very much that they were being singled out in a forest management plan instead of looking at an entire revision as they were looking at grazing, and their tendency, they have felt, has been that they're being pushed off the forest. How is your perspective as the regional forester about grazing in its future?
So sustainable grazing is an important use on the national forests, and it has been for a long time. We have a large percentage of the national forests here in the region have grazing on them. And while the numbers may have changed from a long time ago, our numbers for grazing permittees have remained relatively stable. When we make changes because of drought, when we make changes because of other needs on the ground, we work with our permittees to make those changes. I think the example that you were talking about where we were looking at reviewing the standards and the grazing on the 3 forests in southern Utah, it's a good example of where we might be seeing indicators or conditions, and when we're starting to think about what does that mean to us. Those conversations happened with other people within the community and with the counties. And I think they highlighted that there's still a need to address and look at the issues about sustainable grazing. Mm-hmm. But what we've decided to do is not focus on that exclusively around just grazing, but to really take a look at our forest plans for each forest and decide what we need to do across the whole landscape and look at all of our uses. In this region, we have many forest plans that date back to 1986. So we're developing a strategy so that we can start reviewing and revising those forest plans. And so we'll take a look at grazing along with all the other uses on the national forest and engage the public and our counties as we go through those forest plan revisions.
Right now the Forest Service is going through a process of trying to get a cohesive travel management plan, but I know several of the counties, Uinta County has really, they've felt like half their forest transportation system has been shut down when the Ashley is now supposed to be targeted for recreation. So they look at it and say, well, great, you don't want to log the forest, they see it as recreation, but now we can't get to it because all the roads are closed.
So there were two aspects, I think, to the question there. One, to me, is about motorized use of the national forest for recreation. And the other is about how do we maintain a road system so that people can access to use the national forest, and also so we can manage the national forest. Every one of our forests has a travel management plan that outlines where people can use motorized vehicles on trails, roads, and just in open areas. Those plans were developed with public input. They can evolve with public input. And so even though all of our forests have those plans, as conditions change, as needs change, districts will go back and revise those plans as needed. Certainly they're going to look to how many roads and trails do we need, how many can we actually maintain, and how do we protect the environment when we're doing that. So I think that's one aspect of the motorized recreation use that it's really important. People love to get out on their national forests and recreate. So we want to maintain that use, and we've got great trails. We do that in partnership with a lot of other people in order to maintain those trails. The second part of that is we need roads to access the national forest to manage the forest so that we can do fuels treatments, so that we can get out on the national forest to suppress fires, so grazing permittees can get there. But we also need to keep in balance the amount of roads that we can have over time and maintain. So there's usually an approach to say how much road system can we maintain and need over time.
We're going to take a commercial break. We will come back to talk more with Nora Rasure, who is the Regional Forester for the Intermountain region, right after this commercial break.
There is a place where the desert comes alive, where rain breaks forth from solid stone and gardens spring from blistered rock. There is a place with enough color to make a rainbow jealous, where boulders are bigger than buildings and cliffs are higher than clouds. There is a place that will straighten your step, tighten your grip, widen your eyes, and open your jaw. There is a place.
What would you do with an extra day in Utah Valley? Explore the Wasatch Mountains? Snap a family photo at Bridal Veil Falls. Cool off on Utah Lake or the Provo River. No matter what you're searching for, you can find it in Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
Planning your next conference or corporate event? The Davis Conference Center offers 70,000 square feet of flexible meeting and exhibit space, plus high-tech audio-visual services that will make your event a success. Whether you're planning a training, meeting, company retreat, wedding, or large convention, let the staff at the Davis Conference Center help you arrange your next event. Located east of I-15 in Layton, call 801-416-8888 or visit davisconferencecenter.com today.
If you like the outdoors, there's not a better place to be. And like today for us, for instance, how many people did we run into? I mean, we really, you know, you've got this beautiful land pretty much to yourself, and where do you want to go? You want to go there? Go there. You know, it's wide open. It's amazing.
Isn't it time you found the balance you've been looking for? Uinta County, Utah.
Welcome back to the county seat. Our conversation with Nora Rasure, who is the Intermountain Regional Forester. Let's continue with a couple of other topics. Number one that is probably in everybody's mind, sage-grouse. Sage-grouse could have huge impacts, and everybody's worried about it right now.
We have been working across the whole Intermountain region to address sage-grouse. And we've been looking at how can we revise our forest plans so that we have direction in the plan that will help us conserve sage-grouse and ultimately help us not have to have the Fish and Wildlife Service list sage-grouse. We've also been working with the states on what can we do to restore sage-grouse habitat. We've had great projects with the state where we are able to use the Watershed Restoration Initiative here in Utah to restore lands that will help benefit sage-grouse.
The problem that falls there, though, is that they're looking at a prescription across a region, and so you've got multiple states. Utah's really far ahead on the game. They've been very proactive about it, but you still run the risk of that listing just because another state hasn't done that much. Does that strike you as unfair?
I think it's a great opportunity for all the states to work together, and each state may have its own unique plan. There may be different threats in each state, different circumstances because of geography and because of the habitat. And so each state really can focus in on what's important to them, and the National Forest can be a contributor to that. But ultimately, yes, we have to look across the whole landscape and work together so that we can manage the sage-grouse and conserve them over time.
Let's turn our attention to timber harvests. There used to be a fairly active timber industry in Utah. It's hardly any of it left anymore, and with a lot of environmental lawsuits, areas where we could have improved the health of forests, we haven't been able to. What are your plans to try and improve that situation, or is it possible to improve that situation?
I've seen some real opportunities here in Utah for us to work together to manage the land. When I think about the North Slope of the Uintas, the coalition there that's come together, it's a broad coalition of people that are really interested in the long-term health and sustainability of that landscape. So they're working together. And that's, to me, the turning point is when we can get diverse interests working together, then we can get agreement about what we want to do on the land, because all those people have an interest in the long-term sustainability and health of the land. So I've seen us make that change. Those are the type of models that I think when we can work together, we can make a difference across the landscape, across the whole state.
Can't that be just thrown sideways, though, by litigation? I know that on Cedar Mountain down in the Dixie, they were trying to get some of that wood taken care of. They were trying to do timber harvests, and they got sued. And so now, what, 10, 12 years later, it just sits and gets worse. Can't that throw a wrench in the entire process if you get a group doing something like that?
So it's an interesting thing, our national forests. They have laws in place that have been passed over time to address different interests. And one of those is environmental analysis, NEPA, National Environmental Policy Analysis, and also how we engage the public. And so being able to appeal or protest a decision that we make, that's part of that public involvement process. Being able to litigate, that also is part of the process, no matter what side you're on, that ability to do that. What we're working towards is getting that agreement and working together up front, coming up with the best possible decision. That will minimize the need for anybody to feel like they need to litigate one of our decisions.
Let's turn our attention for the last minute that we have to the proposed Forest Service rule to manage water that falls on Forest Service lands and the conflicts that creates with the counties and the state over ownership of water. Would you care to comment on that?
Well, our national forests, many of them were created to restore and protect watersheds. So the national forests that we have here in Utah, they are the place where the snow falls, and that becomes the reservoir for the water that we all need and use here in the state. This groundwater directive, it was a way for the agency to really make sure internally when we're doing our work that we're not allowing something that would contaminate that water, because we all want clean water. There is not an intention to take over the state's control or management of water. And so I think this is an instance where we need to stop the work we have been doing on that directive and really sit down together and figure out how are we going to provide clean water to the public here in Utah.
We've come to the end of this break. We'll have a wrap up in a few minutes, and we'll get Nora's concluding thoughts on this half hour on the county seat. We'll be right back.
Remember those good old days? The places you went with your family when you were young? Reinvest in those old memories by making new ones. Beaver County is the perfect place to start that new tradition. Enjoy your favorite pastimes with family and friends. Connect with the history and culture of Utah in a place that's looking to the future. Modern conveniences minus the hustle and bustle of other locales. Beaver County, your adventure starts here.
Unlimited opportunity for adventure. It's all about knowing where to look. ATV adventures, rock crawling events, art festivals, and wildlife events. The opportunities are limitless. Plan your stay and join us for the Old School Rock Crawl, May 22nd and 23rd, and Millard County Stock Show, May 26th and 29th. Pick your adventure in Millard County.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are in our last segment talking with Nora Rasure, who is the regional forester for the Intermountain region of the U.S. Forest Service. You know, with sequestration and all of the challenges that have been placed, the Forest Service has big challenges to get the work done. Can you guys do this all by yourselves, or or, you know, I guess that's just the question. Is the job of managing the forest bigger than just the Forest Service itself?
So one of the most interesting things I've seen evolve over my career with the Forest Service is how we work with people to get the work done in the National Forest. These days we have interagency partners. We work with the state of Utah. We work with outside organizations. We work with volunteers. We work with the counties. There is so much interest in how we manage the National Forest and what we can provide on the National Forest for the public and for other users. people are willing to step forward and work together with us. And what I admire about that, and what I think what makes national forests different and unique, is that people are willing to get engaged. Not only do they want to use the national forest, but they want to give back. They want to make a difference on the land. And I think that says an incredible a lot about the people who love the national forests here in Utah and across the whole nation. That's what makes national forests special to me, is how engaged the public is with the management of their forests.
Okay, so somewhere out there, a light bulb just went on in somebody's head and they're going, hey, cool. How does somebody as an individual, I mean, counties know how to interact, the state knows how to interact, you know, NGOs know how to interact, but a guy sitting there on his couch going, yeah, I think that'd be cool to help the Forest Service do some work. How do they volunteer? What do they do?
They can contact one of their local offices, go to one of the district offices, a forest office. They can go online to the Forest Service website and find out about volunteer opportunities in their area. A lot of times in people's communities, organizations in that community are already volunteering with the National Forest. And so maybe even through their own outside interests, there's already a connection to the National Forest. Give us a call. We'll put you to work.
Well, that sounds like the gauntlet has been thrown down. One last question. There are various, I mean, there's a big recreational component to the Forest Service, and there are various recreational groups. There are rock climbing groups, and there are you know, ATV groups, and there are hiking groups, and there are cross-country skiing groups. All of them are seeking opportunities. Is the door open for them to provide more of those opportunities in all of those venues?
We have some great recreational opportunities. We have, in the state of Utah, we have over 11 million visitors, and people they're hiking, they're biking, they're camping. And so there are opportunities to work with our districts to expand access to the National Forest for those type of activities, for rock climbers to engage in maintaining the areas that they climb, for people that like to hike to help maintain trails. So people can not only enjoy their recreational activity, they can give back. And again, I think that's what makes it so special to be part of the National Forest.
Are clubs the best way to do that?
Clubs work, and also individuals come together. We have volunteer days where people will go out and work on a trail. So individuals that have no affiliation might get to know each other and make some new friends while they're out there maintaining a trail. Okay, very good. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for allowing us into your home today. Remember, local government is where your life happens, whether it is at a federal, state, or a county level. So be engaged, be part of the solution, and we will see you next week on the County Seat. Be sure to check us out. Leave your comments on our social media. See you next week. If you like this video, then we invite you to subscribe to our channel, The County Seat. You can do that here. And we invite you to share with your friends. We also invite you to get all the latest up-to-date information by following us on our social media channels. And if all else fails, make sure that you watch The County Seat Sunday morning at 8:30 right here on ABC4 Utah.